All right, class, here we go. I'm going to walk you through how to write your conclusion and analyze your phylogenies in a robust manner in advanced biology. All right, so here we are. We're working on the lab report that we started, feels like a million years ago sometimes. Sometimes it feels like just yesterday. So in your lab report, you've got a phylogeny that you've drawn, and you've got a research phylogeny. Here, I have an example of what your data section should look like at this point in the class. You've got figure 1, which is the pictures of organisms. You've got figure 2, which is your phylogeny data traits chart arranged by similarities and color-coded to make it easier for you to draw this, your phylogeny. And then finally, you've copied the research phylogeny from me. Now, I'm going to use data from a previous year as my example. And I want to point out that your data table might look as heinous as this, and that's fine with me. Okay, so the first thing I want to show you is your phylogeny should arrange the organisms you collected by evolutionary traits that force them into groups that are smaller, like a group like this one, right here, a smaller group, okay, and then larger groups like this that contain several smaller groups, okay? So yours needs to have all the traits labeled on it as you draw it to help you organize your phylogeny, okay? But the research phylogeny is organized by traits, but what is labeled here are not traits, but groups, chordates. Deuterostomata is a large group that contains chordates within it. Chordates is a group that contains tetrapoda, which is everything up here, and amphibia is a group within tetrapoda, as is diapsida, anapsida, right? Okay. And another example here would be arthropoda here is a group that contains crustacea here, chelicerata here, myriapoda here, and insects here, okay? So this is arranged by groups. You're going to have to use proper group names in your comparison while you use organisms that you collected, identified, and their trait names when you do your comparison. So here I've started my comparison. So I say my phylogeny contains a group on the right side. So I'm talking about big picture accuracies using specific organisms and naming things with the correct, proper phylogeny group names. My phylogeny contains a group on the right side above the branching point of the worm. See figure 3. Branching point of the worm is right here. A group above the branching point of the worm right here, which is everything that has a head above this, okay? That correctly places all of bilateria together, see figure 4. So I'm claiming that everything in this group here, bilateria, okay, is contained in my group above that worm, right here, okay? So that would mean, I've got my turtles, snakes, and lizards in this group. I've got like some crustaceans, I've got spiders, I've got, centipedes and millipedes and stuff like that. So I look up here and I go above the worm. Okay, I've got the brown planarian, chipmunk, squirrel, salamander, frog, turtle, cardinal, roly-poly. Okay, yeah, I buy it. Okay, and now, however, bilateria should be in, the worm also should be in bilateria, right? It's not. And obviously, I'm going to have to talk about that later. In addition to this, the subgroups chordata and arthropoda each contain all of the correct organisms, except that the cardinal was excluded from my chordata because I did not give enough weight to the trait skeleton. This should be a new sentence. Neither of these groups, so I should be specific, chordata and Arthropoda contain organisms that do not belong in them. That being said, okay, so now we look here. So, okay, Arthropoda right here has all the creepy, like buggy type crawly daddy things, and Chordata right here contains mammals, turtles, lizards, snakes, birds, crocodiles, salamanders, and frogs. So we look here, my Chordata. So within Bilateria, above the worm, I'm claiming that I have a correctly grouped chordata: chipmunk, squirrel, salamander, frog, turtle, except the cardinals excluded. That is incorrect. So that I said that correctly. And then Arthropoda is everything up here. It looks like the trait segmented body made that group correct. And I have roly-poly, isopod, daddy long-legged spider, millipede, amphipod, weird larva, ant, water strider, wasp, bee moth. Okay, good. That's true. Neither chordata and arthropoda contain organisms that do not belong in them. That being said, though the insect group is correctly nested in arthropoda, bee and wasp are in a clade with moth and butterfly. So now I'm talking about specific things within my groupings, because they have 4 wings, while the water strider is in its own group with 2 wings, and ants are in a group with weird larvae because of their winglessness. The correct subgroups within insects would show a group where the moth, butterfly, and weird larvae were together, because the weird giant larvae is a moth larvae, and ant, bee, and wasp are together in a clade. Okay, so it should have been the moths and butterflies are together with the weird larvae, and ants, bees, and wasps are together in a clade. But mine had the ant over here with the weird larvae, and the weird larvae was not over here with the moth and the butterfly. And the wasp and bee were not with the ant. Cool. All right, so point by point, this is how you're going to do a comparison for your phylogeny, identifying similarities and differences.